সাগর ফুলের নাইয়া অপর বেলায় তুমি কোথায় যাও আইয়া রে ও মাঝি রে
Farakka. A barrage was constructed and commissioned in 1975 on the Indian part of the Ganges River, just 18 kilometers upstream from the border of the Rajshahi district of Bangladesh. The barrage has caused the Ganges flow to be diverted to the Hooghly River in India during the dry season. This has resulted in a drastic shortage of flow in the Podda River. The usual flow of more than 65,000 cusecs has come down to less than 9,000 cusecs during the dry season. Immediate result was the death of Chandna and Mathabhanga, two major spill channels of Podda. Gorai, being the biggest in the system, became the only source for fresh water in the region, and the Sundarban, in spite of insufficient flow during the dry season. In the last few decades, the Gorai river system has fallen victim to an adverse environmental and ecological disaster due to siltation and no flow in the system, resulting in a continuous northward movement of the salinity frontier.
মাথা শুকিয়ে গেলে পানি পাওয়া গেল না কষ্ট পানি পাওয়া যায় না কোন জাতি হবে থেকে পানি আনতে তেতল জলা যায় তো আমরা গোসল করেছি পানি আনে আবার না পারি মাটি খুঁড়েছি
নদীর পানিতে যখন লবণ আসে তখন ওই লবণের পানি গেলে ধান মরে যায় তারপরে পাটের খেতে দিলে পাট মরে যায় যে কোনো জিনিসে দেয় এই লবণে খুব নষ্ট হয়ে যায়
In the last few decades, the Gorai river system has fallen victim to an adverse environmental and ecological disaster due to siltation and no flow in the system, resulting in a continuous northward movement of the salinity frontier. Shallow tube wells, which are the main source of drinking water for the majority of the people, now pose the serious threat of potential arsenic contamination in groundwater. The effect is very serious in terms of increased saltwater intrusion in the coastal area around the Khulna district and in the Sundarban. An additional problem observed in the Sundarban was a gradual siltation within the forest area and in the bed of the distributaries. The most immediate and serious concern is that salinity is affecting the forests in many ways, causing diseases like the top dying and dwarfing of the Shundari trees, changing the vegetation composition and the living pattern of various living creatures within and outside the forest area. The Shundari tree, being the tallest trees in the forest, supports hundreds of species. Death of Shundari would lead to the disappearance of hundreds of species of vegetation and wildlife in the Sundarbans. Recent changes show that the place where Shundari trees are dying are gradually being taken over by less valuable species like the Kera. Loss of Shundari and its associated wildlife and vegetation would mean losing diversification of life resources and receiving a monoculture plant Kera. Replacement of Shundari by Kera would also mean losing the best timber and environmental and ecological richness by plants that can only provide firewood. The continuous decline in the dry season flow in Gorai has been causing siltation at its offtake, to the extent that between 1988 to 1998, the river was totally disconnected at the offtake from the Ganges Podda during several dry seasons, causing many of the spill channels of Gorai to die out. The more the dry season flow decreases, the more the underground water from adjacent areas of the river moves to the riverbed, thus leaving a wider area prone to increased dryness and salinity. The sustainable restoration of an important river like Gorai demands a long-term solution to all the problems. Thus, long-term plans and programs have to be developed and launched. The first international negotiation between the governments of Bangladesh and India occurred in 1975. In 1996, a new Ganges Water Treaty was signed, ensuring a minimum flow of water in the Ganges Podda in Bangladesh. As the national and international communities acknowledge that the dryness in the Gorai River is an acute problem, the government of the Netherlands, Belgium, Japan and the World Bank came forward and extended their cooperation to the government of Bangladesh, recognizing the urgency of the restoration of Gorai River and efficient utilization of the flows under the Ganges Treaty.
প্রকল্পটা বাস্তবায়ন হলে অনেকটা আমরা এই সিলটেশন যে মুখে যে ইয়ে পড়তেছে কি বলে পলি পড়ছে এই পলি পড়া অনেকটা কমে যাবে এবং পলিটা এই নদী দিয়া পলি আসাটাও কমে যাবে কিছুটা অনেকটা কমবে যে এই প্রকল্পের 70 ভাগই হচ্ছে পরিবেশ দূষণের হাত থেকে মানুষকে বাঁচানো এলাকাটাকে বাঁচানো সুতরাং এইটা ইট ইজ এ মাস্ট ফর আস
The Gorai River Restoration Project is a very special project. It's technically very special, but it's also very important. It's important because of the Sundarbans. The Gorai stopped flowing during the year, at least in the dry season, and that has an immediate effect on the Sundarbans. The balance between the salt and sweet water is disturbed when there is not a constant flow of water to the Sundarbans. Well, that's one thing. The other thing why it is so important is because more than 25 million people of Bangladesh live in the southwest region, and their existence depends also on a well-balanced availability of brackish water. We are confident that the Gorai River project will prove that it is a good project.
Pilot priority dredging works started in 1998. A channel was dredged through the silted offtake area over the first 30 kilometers of the Gorai in 3 years. A set of engineering works has been designed for creating favorable conditions for a gradual restoration of the Gorai in the next decades. The main aim of engineering interventions is to increase the inflow of water into the Gorai both during the low flow season and the monsoon season, while reducing the intake of sediments into the Gorai system. Engineering interventions has been separated into the following categories: river training works and dredging at the Gorai offtake, aimed at intercepting a sufficient quantity of water with the lowest possible sediment concentration in all stages of the hydrological cycle. River training works and dredging in the Gorai aimed at enhancing its conveyance capacity for water and sediment, thus resulting in lower water levels in the Gorai just downstream of the offtake, and thus leading to an increased inflow of water. A flow divider to be constructed at the left bank of the Gorai and protruding sufficiently far into the main channel of the Ganges aims to create some setup of the water level near the offtake so that more water can be diverted into the Gorai. The interventions along the Gorai comprise measures aimed at improving the conveyance capacity for both water and sediment of the upper reach of the Gorai, mostly between offtake and the railway bridge, a stretch of approximately 12 kilometers. The works will eliminate or reduce the causes of the energy losses. This will result in a lower water level near the Gorai offtake, both during high and low water conditions, and therefore in an increased inflow of water. There is also a river stretch of approximately 5 kilometers in length between Kushtia and the Gorai railway bridge, that is too straight and too wide. The Gorai exhibits in this stretch a rather unstable behavior. Narrowing this stretch and at the same time deepening it and providing guiding structures to improve the flow of water towards the railway bridge will have a beneficial effect on the conveyance capacity of the Gorai during the low water season. By keeping the offtake of Gorai open throughout the year, it is possible to prevent the problems caused by the lack of dry season flow in the river. It is possible that by restoring a river system, we can protect 1/4 of Bangladesh from disaster and can save the Sundarban, which harbors a unique environment and ecological resource owned by the entire world. Changes have been visible since the pilot dredging started. Salinity has been decreasing, river channels have become active, and some fishermen have gone back to their original profession. More than 400 types of fish species are available in its system. Furthermore, at the downstream, the Sundarban is a nursery of around 356 fish species and numerous other aquatic creatures, including king crabs, one of the most ancient creatures of the sea. Most significantly, fresh water-dependent trees are getting a new lease on life. Let us stand together to help the forest, the Royal Bengal tiger, the rare Sundari trees and the people. Let us help them live. We can do so by saving the life of a river, the Gorai River.